I'm John McQuaid with 8541 Tactical, and we're here with the 9th installment of our Mega Arms MATEN build. In our last episode, we installed the Surefire SOCOM muzzle brake, and then we went out and we tested the system. The brake was the last thing that we needed to install to make the rifle operational. So we went ahead and test fired it, got our gas system adjusted, got our scope dialed in, and got some baseline accuracy tests. Now, when you purchase a rifle from the factory, Armalite, Remington, DPMS, etc., even the custom shops, you can bet that your rifle was test fired for at least safety before it left the manufacturer. Now, when we build a rifle from components like we have here, we don't have that little safety check. We are the ones that are responsible for ensuring that this rifle is safe to fire. So there are a couple of steps that we need to take as soon as we get to the range. The first one being, we want to make sure that our bore is clear of any obstructions. We went ahead and installed a muzzle brake on our last episode, so there is conceivably the chance that some debris could have made it back into the barrel. Now, once we get to the range, we're going to go ahead and grab a bore snake and we drag it through the barrel to make sure that there's nothing in there. We know if the bore snake made it through, then the bore is clear. If you really want to, you can go ahead and take a full cleaning rod out and do a full cleaning job on the barrel, but I generally don't believe that that's necessary. We just want to make sure that it's clear and there are no obstructions. Now, the next safety precaution we want to make is we want to wear eye and ear protection. Ear protection really should be mandatory anytime you're firing a high-power rifle without a suppressor. The high-power rifle, even for one shot, has enough sound energy to damage your hearing. Hearing damage is cumulative, so every time you damage your hearing, it's worse than it was before. Your hearing really doesn't come back, it doesn't heal. Trust me, I know I've got pretty good hearing damage from my time in the military, so I'm really careful about wearing ear protection when I'm shooting firearms. Also, since this is the first time we're shooting this firearm, you really need to wear eye protection. If for some reason a catastrophic failure occurs and this rifle comes apart, you want something between your gelatinous orbs and hot gases and flying metal than just air. So please wear some ANSI certified safety glasses, something that's actually going to stop flying metal. Lastly, we're really proud when we build up a new firearm and take it out to the range and shoot it. And there's a tendency, especially when you have a really cool looking rifle, for people to crowd around and check it out. If you're there with friends, family, kids, onlookers, etc., please make sure you have them get back for those first couple of rounds. That way, if there is a problem and a piece of debris goes flying, it doesn't catch somebody who's standing by. If it's a crowded day at the range, just ask the guy to the left and right, hey man, do you mind if you stand up and step back while I fire this first shot, just for your own well-being? And you know, if they're going to be nasty about it, do what you got to do, but at least give them the courtesy of letting them know that, hey, there is the potential for some danger here, so could you stand back while I take care of this? Now, when we put our first couple of rounds through this rifle, we are going to do a couple of tasks at the same time. The first task on the first round is to make sure that the rifle operated safely. We're going to fire that first shot, we're going to take that brass case, and we're going to inspect it and make sure that there are no bulges, cracks, there are no signs of pressure. You don't have any gouges in the cases, you don't have the case head smearing because of the extractor, you're not ripping cartridge rims off, and that the primer is still seated in there, that we're not punching holes in the primer, that the primer's not flowing back into the firing pin hole, or any of that nonsense. That is the primary purpose of firing that first cartridge. The secondary purpose is to see if our gas system is functioning correctly. If the gas system is dialed in correctly, then that first cartridge should eject on its own and you'll have to chase it down the firing line. When I adjusted our gas block after we installed it, I purposely set it a little bit on the low side. So my intent was when we fired that first cartridge that it would remain in the chamber. And in this case it did. So the gas system, I knew, was adjusted too low. It was undergassed. The next job that we want with that first round is we want to get our scope dialed in. Now for this rifle, we decided to mount the SWFA SS 5 to 20 by 50 millimeter rifle scope. We previously did a video review on this scope on our YouTube channel, and the scope worked very, very well, so we have no problems with the adjustments or the ability for the scope to hold zero. We also did a review on the SWFA branded Bobro scope mount, and we know that that mount will hold zero very well. So that takes another question out of the equation. If you're using a scope that you're not sure of on the rifle, then you may have to find a situation where you're trying to figure out if the problem you're seeing is a scope problem or rifle problem. If you at least temporarily use a known good scope, then you take that out of the equation. So that first shot, we looked down range, we saw where it was on paper, and we dialed our correction in. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and clear the rifle, make sure that there's no ammunition in it, magazine's removed, and because that first cartridge failed to eject, we're going to open the gas system up just a little bit. And on the DA7 adjustable gas block, we just took the included Allen key, we inserted it into the set screw in the front of the barrel, and we backed that off just a couple of clicks. And once we opened it up a couple of clicks, went ahead and grabbed a couple of more cartridges, threw them in the magazine, chambered it up, and fired that next cartridge. Now the next cartridge ejected, but it failed to chamber a fresh cartridge. The bolt went ahead and slammed close on an empty chamber. That tells me that the rifle is still undergassed. It had just enough energy to kick that first cartridge out, but the bolt did not come far enough back to strip a fresh cartridge off the magazine. So again, we cleared the rifle, we adjusted our gas block open a couple more clicks, and then went back and fine-tuned our zero with that next shot. Loaded a couple more rounds on the magazine, inserted it, fired another shot. This time it ejected, chambered a fresh round, and our zero was on. That tells us for an initial adjustment, and if this was going to be a game gun, we're good to go. Leave everything the way it is. The rifle is set up for this ammunition, it's safely firing it, and we're good to go. Now, if you're using this rifle for any kind of serious purposes, if it's going to be a work rifle, if you're hunting dangerous game, etc., then you're going to want to give yourself a little bit more gas energy. So you're going to click that set screw open just a couple more clicks. That way the gun will be a little bit overgassed. Now, overgassing it is not the best thing in competition because you get a little bit more shock when that bolt carrier hits the rear of its travel. It wants to pull your sights off target just a little bit more. It's more energy that your body has to resist. But in a serious work rifle, that little bit of extra gas is going to ensure that if it was a bad day at the factory, if they threw a low powder charge, if your ammunition was cold, if your bolt carrier was gummed up, etc., you're still going to have enough energy to chamber that next cartridge. So overgassed just a little bit is the better condition for a working rifle. If it's a game rifle, you want just enough to get it to function reliably. Once we had that done, we fired 5 shots that we made sure that everything was functioning, we were good to go, our zero was good, and then we went on to initial accuracy testing, and we fired 6 5-shot groups. Now you can see that the rifle is beginning to shoot in. This is the first group that we shot. This is the second. And then we come down here to the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth group. So the rifle is beginning to tighten up as we get some rounds down that bore, we get it seasoned, and we start to get a little bit of wear on the operating system and parts start to mate together. Now, what we saw as we went through those 6 5-shot groups is every group that we fired was a little bit tighter than the group previous to that. What we're seeing there is we're seeing the operating assembly in the rifle, the bolt carrier group, bolt, etc., wearing itself in to the upper receiver. Every one of those surfaces has a machine finish on it and it has a coating over top of it. And as we go along, those coatings and those finishes sliding on each other are polishing each other smooth. So you're getting a little bit better consistency every time as you go through. And consistency is what makes these rifles accurate. The bolt is polishing the way it locks up into the extension. The bolt carrier is polishing its path as it goes back and forth in the upper receiver, and the bullets are polishing the barrel as they go down. Very often you'll end up with a little bit of a burr left in the chamber, and the bullets will polish that out. They will also season the barrel. Each one of those bullets going through will lay a bit of copper into all the microscopic grooves and nicks in the barrel. And as they do that, it will polish it out. It'll make it a little bit easier for it to go, and the rifling will damage the next bullet a little bit less. Now this will continue, of course, until you get too much copper built up, and then you'll see the rifle accuracy degrade a little bit. That's how you know it's time to clean it. We did not do any special break-in process. We just shot the rifle. I don't believe, especially in a rifle such as this, that a barrel break-in process is necessary. There's no firing and cleaning, firing and cleaning. As you shoot the rifle, the bullets are polishing those microscopic machining marks down, and you're going to be good to go. Now there is the possibility, especially if you're using a different barrel, maybe a lower grade of barrel, that you are getting a little bit more fouling and you may need to go in there and do some cleaning, but really shoot it a little bit first. I see that, especially with, for instance, Remington bolt-action rifles, your first 20 shots through that bore after you've cleaned it on a newer barrel will continue to get tighter until you get 20 shots down the bore, and then it will be fouled out enough that you'll get back to peak accuracy of the system. So I kind of wondered if that was part of what we were seeing here, combined with the accuracy or with the consistency of the bolt carrier group wearing in. After we got done firing 6 groups, we saw that that 6th group was just about 1 minute angle. And that was really the goal of this system as we built it. I wanted to have a semi-automatic compact rifle that carried some punch with it and was capable of minute angle or better accuracy. We ended up with minute angle accuracy, and to me, that's acceptable for the cost of the Rainier Arms Select barrel. I think it was a really good deal for a barrel of this cost to come in with that kind of accuracy. However, I do believe this rifle is capable of better accuracy as we get more wear and more bullets down the barrel. So we will continue to shoot it, and we'll see where we end up on that. Now, because I don't really want to end a range session just shooting groups, we went ahead and set a 300-yard steel target out, and we just banged away with it for a little while. And it got a chance for me to see how well the rifle handled off the bench. I went ahead and locked the rifle into an Alamo 4-star D-lock head that was mounted on top of a Manfrotto tripod, and we got some offhand shooting, or rather standing shooting, at 300 yards, and really didn't have any problems beating the heck out of a 1/3 size IPSC target at 300 yards. So the level of accuracy the rifle is putting out now is good for just beating steel up. I think that we will continue to see some improvements, and here later on when we actually go for the real accuracy test on the rifle, I think we're going to be good to go. So far we've got the rifle out, we've got it dialed in, we've got it working extremely well, and we've got a baseline accuracy test on it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go out and put about 100 rounds through the rifle to make sure that it is really broken in well, that the operating system has mated together and it's polished itself up, and that we've seasoned the barrel well enough. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do a true accuracy test, 5 shots for 5 groups with the rifle set in a bench rest. And that will give us an idea what the average accuracy of this system is. We'll then go back and we'll talk about each and every component that we used in the build and what, if anything, that we would change to improve the way the system functions. So you want to make sure you click that subscription link and stay tuned for next time. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you like this video, make sure you click that thumbs up button. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. That way you'll be notified when we release the next episode of this series. Until next time, get out and shoot!